Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Pit Against a Live Flush Up a College Show. I'm William Table and Legs, joined by my constant co-host Kevin Smurph. Kevin, how was your Christmas?
It was good.
Cool. Pit Against is a live call-in show. If you'd like to be on air talking to us about your take, join the Pit Against Discord by clicking on the link that's in the description. Then join the waiting room channel. Put your hot take in the Topics text channel. If we like your take, we'll pull you on for a mic check and then put you on air. No, actually, how was your Christmas, Kevin? You had a good.
It was good. I just went to see family. They're just a couple hours away. So I was there for a couple days, and I got back 20 minutes ago.
Heck yeah. And we appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. Anything notable happened in Flesh and Blood for you lately? Big events you've been going to in the last week?
Not since Chicago.
Fair enough.
Flesh and Blood hasn't been doing much this last week.
No. It's the off season. It's the I wanted to say winter season, but it takes
there are
place in New
2
Zealand.
weeks off as we have Atlanta next weekend.
Yeah, I guess so. Jeez, dude, we had, I think, roughly the equivalent of a battle hardened every weekend this year. We had 50. We had 52, 50. I think next year we get 60. Is I think what I read somewhere.
I thought next year was 50.
Was next year 50? Okay, there was a number 60. I saw that, and I didn't see exactly what it was. So, where do we want to start? We could start.
You said you had a thing.
I do have a
thing. Do you want to do that, or do you want to do callers first?
Let's do TCG talk, and then we can pull to us. OBS disconnected. If you want to be on air talking to us about your take, you can join the Pit Against Discord. For some reason, we had a disconnect. And then you can literally talk to us about your hot takes, like Illusionist should be banned as a hero. I don't know if that's true, but you know, it's the oyster's your world. And I don't know who he's actually pulling in. It looks like we're getting TCG talk first. And I was going to go to see if I can find where I saw that number 60 at. It was somewhere around here. That's crazy. I don't remember. Maybe it was in when they were talking about, where was that number 60? Dude, I'm frick. All right. I'll look it up while you're talking. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Dylan and I'm calling from Virginia.
That's awesome, Dylan. I turned your microphone way up because you were way quiet last time you were on here, and now you're back down to 100%.
I fixed my EQ levels on
Let's go.
Mix amp, which probably helped.
Yes, that did help. Okay. What would you like to talk about on the show?
Yeah, so I put it in y'all's topic to try to summarize it, but my basic take for the year in review, which can be a positive or negative, I guess, depending on what hero you play, but that this year potentially is the most powerful year we've ever had in Flesh and Blood in terms of heroes. Maybe not the high, right? Because I think Monarch and Tails kind of are always going to take that cake unless they just go crazy. But for hero to hero, like I think it is the most powerful year we've ever had. And looking at the LL totals, like I just looked at them briefly. Like we have 13 heroes that got released this year, which is insane compared to any other year. And we have 7 heroes over 200 points, and we have 4 heroes with over 580. Granted, all three of those 4 are part of the misfail, so that kind of stacked it a little bit. But like, other than a couple of choice heroes, like we only have, what is it? But if you don't count Jarl and Ira, which I don't because they didn't get dedicated support other than the Jarl deck, we only have 4 heroes that didn't really do much: Verdant, Cecilio, Olympia, and Betsy. But the other ones just like took the cake. And so my base level is like, I think we'll look at this being the most powerful, and I have other stuff, but that was my base take, and to see what y'all's thoughts were.
And even some of those were actually kind of powerful. I'm gonna let Kevin play the opposite to this argument and hype up his argument even more. Like CYB Betsy was a thing locally, so you know, solid deck there. Acilio can do very silly things that are quite powerful. But what do you think about the heroes of this year as it stacks up to heroes of other year? And also, I looked it up, that in the World Tour announcement at Osaka, 60 planned worldwide battle hardens for 2025.
That's so many.
Oh, that's a good way.
More than one a week.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's insane. Okay, but go ahead.
Yeah. I don't. It's hard for me to say whether or not this is the most powerful year, just because like Mistveil is skewing all of it, and we're also at a weird spot where it's like the entire power level had dropped off as we move away from 1.0, but then which like is firmly like 2.0 is kind of heavy hitters.
And now
Power
we're
level
kind of in
range.
3.0.
But then we drop
post
Mistveil, and it feels like a 1.0 power level a little bit, to the point where Zen was also just running over LL and got Bonds of Ancestry restricted there. Like, I I don't like it's hard to like separate it, because yeah, Mistveil was released this year, but like if Mistveil was released in any other year, is that just the most powerful year suddenly?
Does the banning affect the opinion of the year? Right. So we had the
book bans.
we had the step. We started the year at Fab 2.0, and then we stepped back up to 1.0, and then we kind of stepped back down to 2.0 after the book banning. Does the banning incorporate part of the most powerful single year of heroes?
I don't think so, because a lot of those cards came out well before
True.
these heroes. Like Bonds of Ancestry is an Outsiders card, which we saw Katsu do kind of disgusting things with in Heavy Hitters meta, which he could have done at any point in any of those metas, I think. And then, like, Art of War has been a thing forever. Chain abused the shit out of that card. Better than most other heroes kind of had. Although I think Art of War plus Lightning Greaves was going to be a special level of degeneracy, if I'm being honest.
Oh, wow. Also, Arya and Monarch both came out in the same year. I thought they were separate years.
Yeah, it was the same
Holy
year.
Frick.
Yeah. I think that was the asterisk on the point, was like, you can't top Tails and Monarch, because then your game is just screwed.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this was them taking a step back up, and they didn't quite realize it. And I think half of that has to do... I'm not sure where that came from, because like we can see a little bit where like the Briar and Starvo power levels came from, because Briar and Starvo were being tested at the same time, because they're elemental heroes, and they were on roughly the same power level, and Starvo wasn't that big a problem because you had 5 embodiments of Earth. But then like Briar gets released without Starvo and runs everything over, then gets errated, and then Starvo gets released without Briar and then runs everything over. So like I don't know what happened internally for us to get Mistveil in its current iteration, where it was just very clearly a step above everything else. Like, if you drop Enigma into just purely a heavy hitters meta, she runs that format over. It's not close.
True.
If you drop Zen into a heavy hitters meta, he probably still runs that format over. Like, even New has a very good time in that meta, except for, like, Kasai, the Warriors. So, like, is it just Mistveil? And, like, what happened that Mistveil was that powerful is, like, kind of the thing that's happening. Where it's, like, they're talking about this, like, 2.0 where everything's kind of powered down, but then they, like, it seems like it just slipped. So, like, is it Mistveil, or is it this year?
I think...
And it's hard to separate Mistveil from this year and just say, well, yeah, if you put Mistveil another year, then that's the most powerful year. But it was like, well, but it's put in this year.
I say we put Mistveil in 2021.
I think Enigma would struggle there, and I think Zen would still do pretty good stuff.
Well, you don't have Bonds that year.
You don't. I don't think you need it.
I don't think you need it. He's pretty good.
I think he would still... Zen was still doing stuff after the Bonds ban in LL.
Yeah. It's still funny. I don't know. It's just funny to think about. It's like when Fi came out, like Stubby Hammer's Fi, for like the week that existed. Yeah. People were like...
For the RTN season.
The Fi players were like, give me back Starvo. Give him back. I think I can take him. I can take him, dude. And I don't know if that's... I don't know if that's true, but...
If you're putting Zen up against Starvo, who doesn't have Rosetta... Or Jarl? Yeah. That's also a big difference.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know that it's, like... obviously KO did pretty well in heavy hitters meta because they kind of the 2 sets prior to heavy hitters in 2.0 was like Dust Till Dawn, which wasn't flushed out yet.
No.
Because we didn't have Rosetta for Vincent and we didn't have heavy hitters for Prism. And then it was Bright Lights, which also had issues because Max kind of just struggled in general. Teklo just couldn't do his thing well enough. And then
Dio wasn't quite figured out yet.
Dio was a struggle for people to get to, and was still like
It's
kind of
still
always,
really hard.
It wasn't like the biggest struggle, but like it was.
I mean, it's
definitely
it's hard, right? We had a local I think we had 2 locals, like new players by the Dio deck, and they're just like, I don't understand how
I deal damage.
They're like, I keep hearing that this deck is like super good, but like I'm spending 4 cards to deal 4 damage this turn. I don't get it.
Yep.
And yeah, Dio's crazy, but difficult.
Yeah. So like we have 2 sets that are like pretty powered down in terms of impact, and then we go straight into heavy hitters, which is just a very solid numbers game with some hero abilities that are also just extremely good, and they're just like the most consistent heroes that we'd seen in 3 sets.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the most consistently good heroes we'd seen in 3 sets. And then we have Mistveil, which is like the most powerful heroes we'd seen since Uprising, at least, and maybe Tails, or well, Everfest, I guess, but Elemental. And then even like Rosetta doesn't do anything if we don't have the book bans.
Yeah, Rosetta is completely viewed differently if you don't ban the books. I agree.
Yeah. So like I don't know that Rosetta really hits that mark for me of powerful hero releases. Because Rosetta looks to me a lot like a heavy hitter set, and Mistveil just ran over all the heavy hitters heroes.
So I'm just thinking a little hypothetically, a little tangent, but like how strong is Acilio? No book banning?
Much better.
Much better?
I'm not even a great Acilio player, but I've played some LL Acilio, and jeez,
would you
amount of
play him into a Zen meta?
I would. I mean, he can just OTK you. Like
he will kill. He will kill people. Turn 3.
Okay, so not all of Rosetta is dead. It just looks very different.
Yes, it looks very different. And Acilio definitely actually gets a huge buff from the book bans, and Aurora even actually gets one. Aurora can play Toma Fjendal very easily with Lightning Greaves and all the instants, and she can play Art of War very well.
But like Florian's like a decent pick right now. Like if someone said I'm playing Florian,
the Earth heroes would probably be unplayable.
No, I mean like now, like they are fine. Yeah, so
because of the book ban, yes.
Yes, because of the book banning.
They would have probably been unplayable.
Like if someone was like, okay, I'm going to this event, an event worth like buying into, and they're like, I'm gonna bring Florian, I just really like the hero. You're like, oh, okay, interesting choice. Okay. Like it's not
it's fine.
So
I think it's also a skill. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was just saying, I think it's also a skill level thing because like I'm a nerd, so I keep like win totals every time for my own content and stuff. And like so, RTN season this year, the top 10 heroes, 3 of them were Mistveil, 2 of them were Rosetta. We have Viserai, which it's not Rosetta, but Rosetta.
It's a Rosetta.
It's a reason Rosetta is up there. And then the only top 10 heroes you had that were not from this year released were Azalea at 31 wins. She was like 6th. Dash.io, which Dash.io, which is now pre-banned. Dash.io is like terrible now, and then Kano also pre-banned. So these are all pre-banned numbers. But if you think about it, like if you take the bans, like literally it's all heroes from this year. And then if you go all the way back to 2023, early 2023 in ProQuest meta, Oldheim and Briar were 1st and 8th, and then you had Phi and Dromai at 3rd and 6th. But other than that, you had Icelander, Dash, Dorinthia, Reinhardt, Bravo. So I guess the reason Bravo is actually 10th, which is crazy. The reason I would say that it's a little weird is like now, if you're not playing a hero from this set, like what's the best hero from this year? What's the best hero? Maybe Prism, I guess. I'm trying to think of a hero that is not from this year.
It's Prism, and she's like essentially from this year because she needed her heavy hitter's weapon.
Yeah, exactly.
I like how we say the essentially thing because, I was thinking about Viserai and. So
it's not the old Viserai build.
Well, no, I mean, so Viserai Viserai is never. I don't feel like he's really ever had his day. Like if he did, it was like literally a day.
It was Skeletor.
Yeah, but like so when Viserai came out, he was the best deck in draft. Not that anyone drafted it. And then in Crucible, he got one of the most busted cards in the world. And then in Everfest, he got a buff. And then in Rosetta, he got a buff. Like he's had a lot of sets where it's like this set will put Viserai right on the front page, and it's just funny how. The Crucible vest did work, but Rosetta also did it again. Well, he just keeps bobbing in and out.
Also, like Vincent.
Oh yeah, Vincent.
Really a hero.
Vincent's crazy
until
now.
Rosetta.
Holy frick!
Like
people are too afraid to pay Pummel. I'm just kidding. Joking.
Don't run Pummel and Vincent. You're doing other powerful things.
I think.
I played against Mars Vincent last Sunday, and she goes, I think I'm taking an off turn this turn. Dealt 21 damage, or threatened 21 damage on an off turn. I was like, what the frick?
No.
That's not an off turn. Is that off turn because you get to Arsenal? What the frick?
What will also be interesting, too, is because of the LL change, like it's basically 1,500 points this season for the most part, and it'll go based off percentage. Flat. And if you go all the way back to 2022, a good meta deck is around 11% win share. And then a really good meta deck is around 15 to 20, right? Like peak Fi was like 18%. So all I had to say, like a good meta deck is going to be getting, I'm terrible at math, 11 times 15. So like you're getting 165 points a season plus nats. And most all of these heroes at the top are within 400 points. So you're seeing like, potentially, if they even have decent years and next year doesn't throw the meta on its head, you're going to see about 5 to 6 heroes from this year alone, LL, if not more. So that's another thing. Not that matters on like terms of directly comparing to Monarch, but it's just interesting. I guess I could change my take after talking about it, and especially hearing y'all's takes is like, this is the one year where I felt like if you did not play a new hero, what are you doing? Yeah. Whereas in other metas, maybe it's because the hero pool is smaller. Like even as a Katsu player, I played Katsu in the Starvo chain era, which God rest my soul, but I at least felt like I could win games, and it wasn't terrible. Where it's like now it's like Katsu's like the perfect example. I could play him in Starvo in the chain era and still win games. Now if I play Katsu right now, even with the new card, it's like, what am I doing? Because this year is like so incredibly insane in power level, so it's interesting.
Yeah, I think putting it in the lens of like, if you're this year had some of the most powerful support for classes that we had seen, which is Rosetta was not just for the heroes in it, but also for the 2 rune blades that already existed. And then Heavy Hitters was giving buffs to Dory, Old Warriors, and Old Brutes, and we saw them come up. We saw Reinar actually do pretty well at PT LA, and then it was Misfail. If you were playing a Misfail hero, that was it. So like, yeah, you kind of have to have been playing something that was supported this year.
I think I push back a little bit that this year is. I've pushed back that this year's like better than 2021 just a bit, like in my mind, because I think a part of it could be, and maybe this is just me grasping at straws. If it is, I believe that. But there was a lot of games. There was a decent amount of games against Starvo. That's back when I played Viserai. That I beat a Starvo that I shouldn't have beaten, like at all. Like if they knew what pitch stacking was, and not just like actually like stacking the deck, like thinking about like every card that goes in it, but like they're just like, okay, don't put 2 lightning cards beside each other or something, right? Like actually play for second cycle. Like there is like 0% chance I actually win that game. I think the floor is so much higher, or at least a lot closer to the ceiling in Flesh and Blood than it was back then. And that if we had the same caliber of player back then, Starvo's even more disgusting. Because they were like, Starvo gets a lot of free wins from new players, is what they were saying around that time. And even if that's true, I felt like there was just a lot of like new to mid-tier Starvo players that weren't proving Starvo's disgustingness.
I mean, sure, but Starvo also got Rosetta.
True.
Like, it is difficult to compare these
that's true.
2 years. But I think this year compared to last year is not nearly the same as 2021 to 2020 or Tails Monarch to the year before it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tails Monarch still has a bigger jump from Crucible Arcane WTR than this year did from last year, even though this is probably second to Tails and Monarch in terms of like power jump.
I got a great question. Where's 2025?
I have no clue.
We're gonna get Necromancer and we're gonna rule the world. It's gonna be great.
I think we're gonna go down. I think it's not gonna be as strong as this year, but
I think it has to go down.
I
think the book
it's,
bans indicate that they're going down.
Yeah, but I don't know how far down they go.
Well, that's the weird thing too, and I won't go too long on this, but like if you look, most card games are on what I would guess from what I've heard. I'm never worked for a card game company, but I've at least talked to enough people where I feel like I have a decent. You're on a 1 to 2 year ahead dev cycle.
Yes.
Typically around 18 to 24 months. So these book bannings were probably the first time where they probably broke that cycle a little bit, but they've probably been thinking about it for about 6 months. When Tails got crazy, they probably didn't start to try to change that until Uprising, which was right after that, right? So that was early 2023. So we're just now going into the set, ideally, that they started to say, okay, where do we want the game to go, right? So
yeah,
now from you see parts of Mistfail, unless they break their dev cycle, you're not going to see the effects of what Mistfail did for them as a company until the end of next year.
That's
right?
so crazy to think about.
Basically this year you're seeing post Uprising Dynasty dev thoughts is basically what you're looking at, with some probably additions and takeaways if I'm thinking of the time cycle.
I think it's closer to like post Outsiders.
Yeah,
when
you could
get
see,
Rosetta.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to interrupt a bit. I think this take is really interesting. The Armpit said it'll go down until they expand into the next market, which is really interesting to me about the implication of that. But also, they went into 3 markets this year, which we'll talk about.
You gotta make those sets good because you gotta get people excited. And the next big market they can go to is Brazilian. I guess would be the next biggest.
They went to Mexico this year.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, we have calling Sao Paulo this year.
Oh.
That's already been announced.
Dude, if we get some like Aztec themed set, that would be dope. You know, thinking about how we had Mistfail this year, which was very Japanese inspired.
Is it possible they had actually designed Mistveil a little out of order, where it was designed earlier and then they put it in when they could launch it in Japan?
Oh, whoa, that's genius, actually. Wait a second.
And that's why it feels like a 1.0 set in the middle of 2.0.
I think dev cycle, like, I think they still, like, they worked on it up and until they...
Yeah,
like they didn't just like shelve it and then pull it out.
Yeah, they didn't just like make it back then, but it was like initially designed.
Okay.
Then, and that's why it feels a little out of sorts with.
Wow, I like that.
Yeah, because you've heard James White talk about going out of order before. Like he said, Phi was supposed to be in set 1.
He was one of the first heroes.
He was one of the first heroes ever designed, and James White is also, for lack of a better term, one of the single and only like lead when it comes to like, okay, I want to think of an idea. We are going to think of transcend, and then he makes it, according to what they say, he makes it in like a freaking dark corner, and then he comes out with it and says, okay, break it. So if it's a singular person, you could go out of order very easily.
I think I've heard them describe it as currently it's like a 3-person ordeal. It's him and Brian come up with stuff, and then they text Joshua Scott at like 2 a.m. and say, "Hey, I can do this, right?"
It's no.
Josh is like,
my understanding is James does a lot of the creative stuff and the story direction, and then starts working with Brian on turning it into a set, and then they go to Josh and be like, "Here's what we want to do. How do we do it?" Is my understanding.
And it starts from there, and then it goes to development.
Yeah, which like Mysteria is also like one of the first regions that like we had something from, which was Katsu.
Yeah.
And so like it doesn't surprise me if this was something that maybe got moved around a little bit because of
we've been to Mysteria.
They wanted to release it in Japan.
Been to Seoul. Been to freaking Aria. When are we going to Savage Lands? Anyways.
Not next set.
Pirates and
next up.
Necromancer. Anyway.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's it.
Sure. All right. I think we're gonna wrap this one up. Mr. TCG Talk. Thank you so much for the call. Is there anything you'd like to shout out?
No, y'all's show is great, and I'll see you on next.
I'll shout him out. TCG Talk, YouTube. It's awesome.
It's fun.
Check him out. Mr. Dylan.
Mr. Dylan. All right, see y'all there.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks. Peace.
All right. I think we should, if
Go
Greg is here, just go ahead and get the last caller, and then we can wrap up talking to each other. All right, if you'd like to be live on air talking to us about your hot takes on this year, just like Dylan did, just like Greg's going to, you can join the Pit Against Discord that should be in the link in the description. Just hop into the waiting room channel, put a topic in the call in topics channel, and we'll pull you in live on air and we can hash it out. You can say things like, I think it's been too long since we've gotten a new illusionist, and I can tell you just how wrong that sounds. Even though this week we're going to be talking very specifically about the year in 2024 in review, right? Mostly. And I got a whole wrap-up that I wanted to talk about. I wrote down all the important bits that happened this year, and it looks like we have another caller. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, my name is Greg. Some people on the internet call me Darth Apprentice, and I am calling from Kansas.
Kansas? Heck yes. What would you like to talk about on the show?
So I have two things I'd like to talk about. First of all, my wife would like you to know that you would probably make a moderately successful living as an auctioneer. Because she heard you rattle through that intro, and she was like, wait, what did he just say? Oh, he could be an auctioneer, I guess.
I will say it definitely, like, my entire life is scripted. When I die, we're going to know like a couple of months ahead of time because everything I say is scripted. Everything I'm saying right now is scripted. So I would have to have the auctioneer, like the entire day's worth of auctioning scripted. But I could do it.
I mean, those are fixed just like cheap games, I think. So everybody already knows who's going to win.
True. All right. What do you want to talk about?
Okay, so I've got something stuck in my craw. I am just not a fan of the World Tour branding.
Okay.
For excuse me, the Flesh and Blood events. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hate that I see, hey, the World Tour is coming to this city, and then I have to hope that the thumbnail of the image then tells me what style of event it is, whether it's a calling or a battle hardened or whatever it is. I can understand from a C-suite aspect of it's like, yeah, we need to unify this so that everybody knows this is what it's called when Flesh and Blood comes to town. It's the Flesh and Blood World Tour. But I don't know. I just hate that because then like you call it the World Tour Pro Tour coming through Belize, or whatever the next city is that it's coming to. I don't know. It just irritates me. And
Pro Tour coming to Belize near you.
Yeah, a Belize near you. Coming to the Buc-ee's on
Yes. Yes. Dude, no, I'm not gonna get into it. Anyways, I also kind of have this little gripe where I'm just like, they're like, okay, welcome to the World Tour, and it's like, okay, wait, which one is it? Oh, okay, it's a battle hardened. But I do also, on the same standpoint, understand where like categorizing things makes things a lot easier, right? This allows you to know. It's like a title that lets you know that okay, this event is related to these other events in the sense that it's part of this big system of professional to semi-professional play, and that these players will probably be looking for earning points at doing the event for being player of the year, and it's just another way to like section off certain events, right?
Does it do that? Because like if I know the World Tour is coming and I'm gonna go, but I'm just, Greg the Filthy Casual. Like, I'm not going to be getting any World Tour points going to do that. I'm going to be showing up and playing side events.
Oh, okay. No, that makes sense.
But
I mean, that's still, but they're trying. it does just seem like they're trying to put a name on their OP circuit, which
right.
is
Without the name being OP circuit.
yes, which is fine. I do think I would like it to be a little bit clearer that it's which events are callings, which events are battle hardens, which events are
Maybe they
tours.
lean off of it a little bit, right? So like they're like
lean
this
off
is a
of it
battle
little bit.
hardened, and then if you look into it a bit more, then you find out okay, the battle harden's about the world tour.
Battle harden PQ plus the next day.
Mm-hmm.
This is happening on Friday, but it's like let them like make it more apparent what level of event it is, because that also like helps people just like kind of prioritize. Oh, I don't need to worry. Like immediately, I know I'm not going to go to battle harden Hiroshima. I'm not flying to Japan for a battle harden.
I think that's very important, and I think I've actually said that before. Where I'm like, I think I want to know. Battle hardened is a clever and interesting name. The calling is a clever and interesting name, and I think it can say a lot about the event. You know, the calling it's an open tournament, but it's also a bigger tournament, right? And so that's kind of what the name is like suggesting. Battle hardened happens all in one day, and so it's like this big like slog / battle to get through. And it's like, okay, yeah, the names are flavorful. What tier event is it? Battle harden's a tier 2.
Yes, I don't know, but like I'm at this point. I know like. I can just connect. It's a battle hardened. This is roughly the schedule they're doing, and this is what the event structure looks like.
Is a road to Nats and a battle hardened the same tier?
Yes.
I don't know.
Do we need another tier?
I think
we have 4 of them already. I don't think we need a 5th.
So
that's
I think technically, but I don't know. I think battle hardens actually maybe are getting moved to 3, but.
Battle Hardened is a tier 2 along with ProQuest and Road to Nationals.
Okay. I think some people have talked about it being tier 2.5 then.
That makes sense.
But it's just
not
like
quite. Yeah.
And maybe this is just because I'm an entrenched competitive player, but like I can immediately know which events I need to look at. If it's like if this is a battle hardened, it's like, okay, this is nowhere close to me. I'm not going to worry about it, and I'll just watch a stream if there is one. If it's a calling, I might look for something a little more at it, but like I can just like quickly sort through the events based on those terms. And if you just say World Tour, then I have to go through each one and look at it and see which level of events are there.
Right, because only some of the like if you're just looking at it on Bluesky or Twitter, some of the thumbnail images that they post do actually now say which events specifically are happening. But they didn't used to, and that was when I first realized this and was like, what the heck? I don't like this even a little bit. And again, I'm not even a person that travels to these events, and I like it's confusing for me. I will say too, and this is just if we peel another layer of my nitpick onion back, as a person that's a big fan of like concerts, like something going on a world tour, you know, that to me is like, okay, we're going to go and we're going to see the whole world over a 9-month period. It's going to be this big epic thing. And then it's going to be done. But it usually also has like a different name associated with it, you know? So like the idea that this world tour is just going to keep going
so like
and going.
Right
and,
now,
you know, maybe...
we'd be going through World Tour Rosetta. And then the World Tour The Hunted.
Kind of, but
except you don't actually world tour for that.
Yeah,
your world tour does not.
Your world tour is for like a whole year.
Especially if you're like a a hugely successful band that just put out an album. You know, like you're One Direction and you just put out Up All Night or whatever, and you're on the Up All Night world tour, right?
I can sympathize with One Direction.
But you're going to do a show in New York. You're going to do a show in Boston. You're going to do a show in Philly. You're going to do a show in Providence, Rhode Island. And then you're going to do a show in Newark, New Jersey. Like, you're going to hit so many more cities on a world tour, as we understand the term or referring to the term, than Flesh and Blood is going to in a year.
All right, I'm gonna shift my gears just real quick to
pop that clutch.
Shilling for World Tour again. It is hitting the whole world. even though tour might not be the word I would necessarily use. And if you hit,
Circuit.
you know, the biggest city in New Jersey because you don't want to pay New York prices, that does kind of cover the like tri-state area pretty well.
Sure, yeah, and honestly,
Yes.
I can appreciate that, and I do like the idea of there is a unified branding for our OP circuit that's not just the flesh and blood competitive circuit, right? Because
Yeah.
that's tried.
I'm also
whatever. But
yeah. I'm looking at this graphic they got for Kuala Lumpur that says World Tour Kuala Lumpur December whatever, and then at the bottom, still in fairly large. Is that not how you say it? It says calling.
It's just the accent.
it's the emphasis.
I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyways, at the bottom it says, you know, in big letters it says Flesh and Blood calling battle hardened super army. It's all part of the same big graphic.
Yeah.
That it does say in the biggest letters World Tour Kuala Lumpur right there, and then right underneath of it it says in the next biggest font calling battle hardened super army. Those are like
yes.
It's almost like writing them as if they are events, but like in the same way I think of side events as opposed to like huge tournaments where it's like these are things you can do at the World Tour when it comes to Kuala Lumpur, and that's like how they're trying to display this information.
Which to me is like a little backwards because you want your callings to be bigger. You want people to know that these are callings.
Okay.
You want people to know which are battle hardens. You want people to know which are callings. You want people to know which are pro tours, which they still label all the pro tours as pro tours.
Yeah. Well,
Not
they're
as
tier
like the
1
World
events.
Tour
But they're tier 1
is
events.
world
Callings or tier 4 events. Callings
and
are
World Premier.
lame tier 3
World Premier
events.
Prague is World Premier. It's not World Tour Prague that has the World Premier.
at it.
Like, and because it's like when you say something is a calling, it is assumed that there is a battle harden that runs alongside it because that's the way they've done it forever, basically, or the last 2 years. And I don't see them changing that at all.
Actually,
so like
for Prague, the thing also says World Tour Prague, and then at the bottom, Flesh and Blood World Premier Calling Battle Harden. It's the same like layout.
Okay.
For that particular piece of art,
they've been billing it as.
I'm sure they have
way more.
Yeah, I think there's certain like events at these Pro Tour events that are going to be said by name more, and I also agree that calling is more important than, you know, something you slap down at the bottom of the page.
Yeah, I definitely think it is, especially if they're trying to put a lot more emphasis on it for Player of the Year stuff.
Yeah,
like it feels like they're trying to figure it out and they just haven't quite yet.
They'll get there.
I mean, I give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, they're doing a great job. They're doing literally the best they can. Way better than I could. I'm just a dude who's like, hey, this is kind of annoying and I don't like it.
Sure.
But at the same time, like,
it's a little off.
It is, but also like the thing that I'm really
still gonna go
is right. I'll still go. I'd play the event, but I really want them to lean into the flavor, right? Like this could just be the Flesh and Blood death match Kuala Lumpur, right? And then it is laying out other events that are happening there, and you can answer the call at whatever. And that's just literally the first thing that comes off the top of my head because I love that.
I think the problem with it is the problem with flavor is obscurity, which is not always a bad thing, but it's like if you're brand new, and so I'm gonna read this. I think it's actually beautiful. The Armed Pit, nothing but bangers tonight. The World Tour should have been called Everfest. I think that's adorable, but also if it was called Everfest. Entrenched players are like, that's awesome. And then brand new players who just got a first strike deck are like, what? The Everfest, what? And it's like, okay, so maybe it makes you read into it, but maybe what World Tour does, as opposed to making you read into it, is it tells you immediately what it is. Oh, okay. World Tour.
It's part of the competitive.
It's a competitive
like,
TCG. Yeah, that must be the competitive circuit.
Which is what they are trying to do. Mm-hmm. It's like literally just like nitpicking the sequencing of the way they.
Yeah,
do stuff.
yeah. And it's good to do these. I mean, it's good to do these nitpicking, right? Because you iron out all these small details, you make it better and better. And I love that. But yeah, it's not super important, but it is important. So I like this.
All this to be said, like they're still just expanding their pro circuit. Like
they're also
more this year. Like just go, do stuff, just do stuff.
Figure it out.
Just do stuff.
They're like definitely still hiring people for OP too, right? Like they're just expanding and
At the end of the day, this is a very good sign, right? The biggest thing that I have to complain about is their naming convention, not the fact that, it's 2 months before an alleged pro tour is happening and we don't know where it is. No, we know 6 months plus out in advance where it's going to be. They've got all of that stuff figured out. They know how to run fantastic events. We know this name feels silly to Greg.
Yeah. We know generally where Worlds is going to happen this year. Next year, it's going to be in region, USA, specifically, and that is so much more information than just not knowing that. Well,
it's also like because like Trevor Baker, the head of OP, was on Flesh and Pod this week.
Oh, I didn't watch that yet. No spoilers.
And so, like, he told us, like,
go ahead. I'm kidding.
No,
I'm kidding.
They talk a lot about pizza. That's the big spoiler.
Oh no!
Actually, yes, they talk a lot about pizza. He said that like we are gonna find out where PT2 is about end of January, which is 6 months out from PT2.
Nice.
We're gonna find out where Worlds is at London, which will be about 6.5 months out from Worlds.
Nice.
And he gave us where US Nats is, which is Vegas.
Yep.
Which is going to be June, which is 6 months from now.
Which means Worlds is going to be on the East Coast in Roanoke, Virginia. I am so excited. It's got to be East Coast, right? It's got to be East Coast.
I think it's going to be East Coast.
It's got to be East
Coast. Roanoke.
And then I'll have to apologize to my wife for saying I'm going to this event, and then we find out a few months later that Worlds is in, a couple hours drive, and I'm like, yeah, but I also need to go to this one too. Greg, thank you so much for the call. That was actually, I knew what your take was because we talked about it before, but the way you presented it was very well done. I enjoyed that.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys having me on. Before I get off here, I just need to plug a couple things. First and foremost, you got to go check out the Patreon if you're not already subscribed to the Table Pits Patreon. Go sub to that. Full disclosure, I'm not subscribed to it, but William did say he would firmly shake my hand when we met in person if I said that I subscribed. So that's my fair disclaimer. So there's that. The other thing, if you are interested in sounding better than I sound right now on my crummy headset, calling in on Discord, I put a video on my YouTube channel at Darth_Prentice about 5 tips and tricks to get quality audio. So go check that out. I'm pretty proud of that video. And I'm also going to stream maybe 12 times in the year 2025 if I am able to make that happen.
52 times. Got it. Once a week.
512 times.
Yes. It's 12 times because each one's a week-long stream. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. And if you're thinking, Greg, your audio doesn't sound that bad, well, he's a professional, so he knows his audio sounds bad, and then you should watch his video because you know he's a professional. It's actually a really good video.
Oh, thank you, William.
Yeah, no, I watched it twice. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. We'll catch you next time.
Oh yeah, hugs and kisses. Big bye-bye. Love you long time.
Goodbye.
I can't leave, though. Discord's not letting me leave, so you're going to have to hang up on me.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Kevin with the assist. It's kind of a dark assist. All right, the meat of this subject, it looks like we probably won't have any more callers, and that's fine. We have had a big year. Is this the last one of the year? It's the 26th. Yeah, it has to be the last one of the year. This is the last.
Yes.
Do you know me? Yep. Do you know what episode we're on?
I don't.
No? I think this is 41.
Okay.
Which means since we started end of last year. So we probably did like 38 or 39 this year, which is not like once a week.
No.
But it is very close. Oh, frick. I didn't report my armory last weekend. Anyways, I just got a message from our store owner. Anyways. Blade Gaming in Roanoke. He's DMing me because he's a great store owner. Okay, so 2024 was a year, and it was full of a lot of like.
We already talked about a lot of it.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of it. Yeah, but like the year was like there was a lot of, I don't want to say ups and downs to say there was bads and goods, because I think most of the year was great, but there was a lot of like where you'd have expectation for how something would happen, and then there'd be a curveball in it, which was very exciting actually. And so maybe we can go over some of those. I'm gonna do my 2024. William, put the graphic on screen. The 2024. Flesh and Blood year wrap up.
Can I get this graphic?
If it gets made. There's no graphic. William's not going to do that. So let's start through the year, right? So I'm going to go over all the important bits. January 17th through 19th. We had the celebrational.
Yep.
Kind of started the year off really strong with that one.
Yeah. I mean, like, really exciting for sure. Like, and they kind of like pushed us a little bit on what we could kind of maybe look at for formats and stuff. Block constructed would definitely be a cool thing to look at some more once we have.
That would be awesome.
Like WTR3 or Monarch 3.
Oh, that would be awesome. Constructed form. Like a
which
like
we
set,
have we basically have Tails
awesome.
2 now as well.
I'd call it Tails 3.
Tails 3 at some point.
Everfest? That doesn't count.
Nope.
But the celebrational was interesting because I didn't feel like I knew what we were going to get out of the celebrational until it was basically over, right? Like they kind of told us what was up, but we just I felt like I was learning something new about what was going on the entire time.
Yeah. I don't think it was like super public on it, but it was still like really cool to watch and see what was going on. I think I maybe would have liked if they could have done a cut to top 4 on their celebrational format instead of just top 2. But
it's fine. When do you think the next one is? Year 3? 10, I mean? Year 10?
Probably close to year 10.
Yeah.
Is the next time they do it. It's not something they do every year, I assume.
And in 2020... Sorry, and then 2028, when Kevin wins both Pro Tours, we'll see him personally invited to that one. Okay, the next thing that happened was February 1st. Do you know what happened on February 1st?
Release of Heavy Hitters?
Fab went to South Korea.
Oh?
Yeah. No South Korean cards yet. I would know.
Yeah, not
February 2nd, the day after that. Do you know what happened?
Was that Heavy Hitters?
That was Heavy Hitters. We got Heavy Hitters came out, which was what a set. Holy frick. I think maybe I think this is a weird way to word this. This set had some of my favorite keywords in it. Like limited. Clash and Wager were awesome to play as, especially Wager.
I think Wager in particular really...
That was awesome. I want to see it come back.
A hit for limited. Clash, not quite as much.
Clash was cool.
Some people didn't like it as much. It was a little more high variance, where as Wager, you had a lot of control over the choices you made. And there was a lot of like strategic decisions you can make around Wager, where it's like, if they block with 2 cards, they probably can't use an agility. So yeah, I'm going to wager agility on this. Like...
I wagered every time. There was no question. I made them make the decision every time. which was always great. Give them the ability to make that choice, and it feels bad regardless which one you choose. I can't think too much about like expectations versus what happened about that set. You don't have, because that's basically what I'm going to say is like I'm going to go through these and you're just going to be like, you know, my expectation for this was this, and then it ended up being that. My hot take was this, and then it wasn't.
I think
or
Heavy
in
Hitters
hindsight
landed where we expected it to.
Yeah.
Where it was like Kasai was a very consistent value engine. KO was your kind of aggro standard. Victor we weren't sure where Victor would land in terms of other Guardians, but we knew that like if you draw a card, it's powerful. Whoa.
Yeah.
What do you know?
Who would have guessed?
Yeah. So it was probably a little stronger than we might have expected, but not like wildly so.
And Reiner Unlimited was exactly where I wanted him to be, which was not really playable unless he was playable, and then he won the draft instantly.
Pretty
playable.
good.
Yeah.
Pretty darn good.
Yeah. So February 17th through March 10th, RTN.
Yep.
What
that
happened
was probably
then?
I mean, that was just like Dromai Heavy Hitters meta.
Yes. That was wild.
Dromai was still there the entire time for this.
It was a meta.
It was kind of just what you expected.
Yeah.
After Heavy Hitters release, and it was just kind of the same thing every week.
No big
It
surprises.
didn't really move
yet.
around too much.
March 7th, Dev Talk #1. That was a huge surprise to me. I was like, holy frick, I didn't think they would do something like this, and I was so psyched that they did.
Did they borrow that from Star Wars Unlimited?
I don't know. I don't follow that game.
Because they were doing that like before the game release. They were doing dev talks.
I feel like, and maybe Star Wars Unlimited is not the game to talk about this, but like when it comes to, tell me I'm wrong, like about Star Wars, that Star Wars shouldn't be compared to this. But like for like Kickstarter like games, a lot of the developers are like, I want to be in the audience face immediately, and so like they would do something like that. And I don't know if Flesh and Blood is. It feels different because Flesh and Blood is bigger.
I mean, Flesh and Blood is a little bit older, but it's already past that sort of Kickstarter phase.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, like, it feels like most TCGs have to go through.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to. You need people to buy your product and buy in. You don't have a company behind you forever unless people are buying your product.
Well, I feel like at this stage in a TCG is where you're not having those dev talks to like have a dev talk. You're having those dev talks to like basically sell something. Like how Magic is like using it to like, I don't know, sell their out of world garbage. Universes Beyond garbage.
Universes Beyond.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which, I do think LSS is like done a good job of not making it just purely promotional. But they also like are in the weird spot of they're not doing work with other companies.
Yes.
They're not working with other companies' IPs that they then have to go sell to pay the bills.
It's a little different. And even
they don't
for
have
like
a company above them like FFG.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get at.
For Star Wars. So like
where they like have to make a certain amount of money. They have to get a certain amount of attention.
It's everything they make goes to them. And
so crazy.
Goes back into the game, and
Makes sense.
I mean the dev talks are great.
Yes,
I love them.
They're great. March 21st through 24th, PTLA.
Yep.
Who won that?
Arthur Trehay.
Arthur Trehay. Yes, because we had the Dromai versus Dorinthia final, and we had that moment where the caster I forgot his name. Was it Uber?
Uber shouts.
Uber was Leslie. He was like does he have it? He doesn't hesitate if he has it. That part's going to stay in my brain forever. That was awesome. It was kind of neat seeing Dromai get up there because I don't remember. Everyone was like, I remember hearing hype about Dorinthia, but I don't remember hearing hype about Dromai.
I mean, Dromai was just still kind of there doing her thing.
Yeah, great deck.
Like, just a very powerful deck. If you hit the things you wanted, it was, it just did. It did powerful things. It had a bit of that 1.0 still in it, and it was playing against decks that were 2.0, but could bully, like, it was slightly vulnerable to them because it was heavy hitters meta, which is very popper heavy.
Yeah. What was your odds of a Dromai winning that tournament? It wasn't very high, was it?
Um, I might have put her like second behind.
Oh
KO.
wow. Okay, maybe not then. Oh yeah, KO. We had like
so,
3 in top 8 or something. I don't remember. 2.
something like that.
Yeah.
I think because like the way it kind of worked at the top of that meta, in my opinion, was you had the brutes, so you had Leviah, KO, Rhinar, who all had
Leviah. Yeah, Leviah had some interest. Yeah.
had decent matchups into Dromai.
Dromai.
Probably slightly favored depending on the builds and how everything shook out. I think Dromai had a favored matchup into the Warriors, into Kasai and Dory, and was more favored into them than the brutes were into Dromai.
Okay.
But there were more brutes who would be playing at the top level of brute than there would be Dromais playing at the top level of Dromai.
Well, that's just the illusionist.
Yeah.
Conundrum.
Yes. So I would have put KO as probably the favorite to win PTLA, but Dromai wouldn't have been too far behind.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Speaking of KO, March 25th, Berserk banned in CC and Blitz. Crown of Seeds banned. And that's when I knew. That's when I knew the whole world was going to fall apart around me.
You're getting an Earth Hero back.
I'm getting an Earth Hero, but I'm not getting Crown of Seeds.
Nope.
Berserk was crazy. Is it played in LL any?
It'll see some play, but Starvo's just so damn good after Rosetta that I don't think you expect to really see it anywhere outside of like skirmishes. Not that we're going to have a competitive LL event until London.
Yeah.
So.
April 13th through May 5th, PQ Amsterdam. Feels a lot like the same as the...
yes and no, because this was Dromai LLing after week 1.
Yes, that's right. April 19th, Dromai LL'd. So like the first week felt similar, but some people weren't playing as much. Yeah. Oh yeah, Zuri. Oh yeah.
Zuri gets to come out to play after that, and does fairly well into most of those decks. She's very disruptive against KO, but KO also plays very good 2-card hands.
I have here that KO's Armory deck came out on the 3rd, which is the first Armory deck, and it says PQ Amsterdam ended May 5th. So actually, we had a weekend of KO Armory deck.
I believe we had 1 week of Sash Armory deck of Sash KO.
That's crazy.
Which like it did kind of what we expected it to, which was do powerful busted things, and the deck was still just good on the floor. And
that PQ had 3 metas.
Yes.
Like I mean, a PQ typically does have a meta where it's like
now,
the first
now
PQ 1,
when they
2,
changed
3.
the LL rules, it can those seasons can very easily have 2 metas, and most often probably do. But yeah, that one did have 3.
Yeah, that was crazy. May 9th, Card Database Beta came out.
Neat.
Nifty. May 17th through 19th, Calling Tokyo world premiere of Part of Mistveil.
First look at Mistveil being played.
And
sort of.
our first tournament,
a ton of it.
our first big tournament in Japan, Calling Tokyo.
Yep.
That's where they really started pushing into that market, which is I think it has a lot of reverberating effects that is all under the radar because a lot of people got into the game from Japan, and it's affecting a lot of stuff, not necessarily on the surface. May 31st, MST comes out. I didn't know what to make of that set when I first saw it.
World ended.
Fair enough, true.
So it's really funny because the first Battle Hardened we saw was Toronto or Montreal.
Something
that
like that
weekend, and there were no Zen in top 8.
Yeah, we had no idea.
This was full bonds, full Art of War Zen.
We were babes and had no idea.
There was like 2 new and 1 Enigma, and Enigma just rolled.
Oh yeah, there was 2 new, and I was like, "Whoa, that's so cool! A new made it in." New's a scary deck now, and kind of was
Enigma
then.
just rolled the top 8 of that. It was only the PQ plus.
Oh man,
because the Battle Hardened was limited.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really interesting to like that Zen had such a slow start in Constructed.
Normally aggro decks get figured out much faster.
Real quick usually. But I think a lot of people were even just like, are we sure that Bonds of Ancestry is like the best thing to be doing in Ninja, in Zen in particular?
I think
and
there's
it
a
turns
lot
out
of-
yes, it just
yes.
is. But
I think there's a lot of ninja mains who like the flourish of the class and don't like the numbers. Funny enough,
the just
and,
blank the
yeah,
the effectively blank or vanilla numbers that Bonds was.
Yeah. So, June 14th through 16th, U.S. Nats.
Yep.
And then until
And
July
then
7th was all the rest of the nationals.
And then we see Zen's
Zen.
power level
Yeah.
when we see Rainbow Bonds and Needles, and then we're just like, oh.
How'd you feel about Zen when you saw him versus how he ended up becoming? Like,
What do you mean?
In preview season, like when we found out what Zen was?
Yeah.
Compared to what the monster he became?
I didn't have a good I did not have a good read on Zen, and that's to say that like I didn't have a solid read on him where like I thought he might end up, because I wasn't sure how easy transcending would be. I wasn't sure how much that would hurt your average turn value because you had to play blues in your turn. I did not understand Kasaya. I missed how good Kasaya was for sure. That chess piece is messed up.
Medax Berserk Reinar is actually a fun deck to play. I agree. I think that is interesting. And yeah, the elegance and finesse of Katsu is ninja as James White intended. I think so too. Like, I think it's really cool, but also cool doesn't always win games. Actually, in a lot of times, it deters you from winning games, which is why I think Bonds was maybe not found out. When I heard of Zen's ability and I started talking to people, I got the same sense as when I heard about Victor, which was in Victor, it was drawing card good. That win game, draw card good. And then with Zen, it was tutor on, no stipulation tutor. Yeah, makes good. And it was the same sense. It was like, it's good. How easy is it to do it? All the other things. But like, we knew the tutor part broken.
Yes. Yeah. That was the big question. It's like we had some test games where we would have like a quad blue hand and it would present 20 damage.
Crazy.
But we also had test games where it was a quad blue hand and it's like this hand blocks for 8 and that's the best it does.
Yeah.
So we didn't get 9 bonds in testing, and then we saw it and we're like, oh, okay. Yep,
makes sense.
Okay.
July 8th, speaking of bonds, yellow and blue are banned in the CC. Channel A Frigid, unrestricted in LL. Crown of Seeds is banned. Aether Wildfire is banned, and Aether Flare is banned in Blitz.
Yeah.
Just prepping for the next set.
Really surprising, yeah.
And
the Bonds color band making it majestic was fine.
That was kind of
still
cool.
A very powerful deck.
It was very neat.
But yeah.
I remember hearing all the everyone's opinions on how, kind of like with CYB, where they were like trying to guess what Bonds of Ancestry's ban was going to look like.
Yeah.
Like ban an accessory card, or ban just the blues, or ban just the reds, I heard. And then it was ban the yellow and blue, which was, I think, interesting, and I liked it.
Yep.
July 12th. Can you guess what happened on July 12th?
Armory Deck Bolton?
Armory Deck Bolton came out. July 25th through 28th, PT Amsterdam. That was cool.
It wasn't too much of a surprise. We saw slightly power down Zen, and then the things that beat Zen.
Yeah, Azuri won.
Yeah, I don't think I definitely didn't put my money on Azuri.
No one put their money on
Azuri. If we run that tournament another 10 times, I don't think I think you don't see an Azuri in top 8 in the majority of them. But
it was and it was perfect storyline too.
Yes,
because he's a shop owner in Japan. He won the Pro Tour. He said he was going to play in Worlds. He had a shop right there. I think it was in Osaka, right, or outside of the city. So? Like it was
something like
it was close by. Like it was like a perfect storyline. Yeah. And he had this really cool Azuri deck.
Yeah, his Azuri deck was great. It was well made for the event, for dealing with Zen and the things that beat Zen, and he played that magnificently. It was so good the way he played near perfect. Like
Yeah.
Toma's patience, and I'll say this, like, just for not for him on Azuri, him on any deck, his patience is wild to watch. It's wild to just see how patient he is as a player and understand the game state. It's just so ludicrously impressive.
He played Ira and got top 8 or top 4.
He first seeded.
First seeded.
Into
yeah,
top
that's right.
8.
What was that at? That was
Kuala Lumpur. I'm pretty sure.
Lumpur. Yep, that was it. Yeah, that was awesome.
Dude,
yeah, he's a good player.
Great at the game. Yeah.
I think no one expected Azuri to win. I think I wanted to. I think I had like my head in my hands when I saw him use Azuri for the first time, and then he put one of the like Mistveil assassin cards on the table, and I was like, it's not Mystic. It's just he can do that. And
he
I was
has
like,
Justin.
Azuri has Justin. And it's like, I'm not even activating Azura.
I can swap out my Persuasive Prognosis for a CNC, or I can Justin Nick it.
Yeah.
Either way,
it was pretty good.
Go away.
Yeah, it was so good. Yeah, that was Amsterdam was awesome. August 1st was when First Strikes showed up at Gen Con, which was also a part of a bigger initiative this year for LSS to go to as many cons as possible. I think they went to like 20 cons or something like that, which was great. And I've heard a lot of people started in Flesh and Blood after being like, that booth looks cool, and then they learn how to play the game. And have you seen the booth in person? Because I got to see it
times.
But that booth is awesome. The thing they got set up, it's so bright. The next day, August 2nd, Azalea Armory deck.
Sure.
It's pretty good. It's a very good deck. I think
it is a solid armory deck.
It is a very solid deck.
And it has a very cheap upgrade path.
Yeah,
as well.
It's super good. Azalea is a good deck. If not for the fact that it has no weapon. August 23rd, First Strike comes out. I bought 2.
Yep.
One of each. September 4th, the day the world shifted.
The book burning.
Yeah. The infamous book burning and revisiting the Flesh and Blood design principles. Do you remember all of the design principles?
Not off the top of my head.
Start full, reduce variance, every card counts, reward good decisions, not good luck. It's been memed into oblivion at this point. But I think all of it makes sense, and I agree with a lot of it. Cards banned Art of War, Bonds of Ancestry, Cash In, Mystic Tenants, Tome of Aetherwind, Affinity, Fyendal, and Firebrand.
Yep.
And then an LL restricted Bonds of Ancestry. What just a massive banning.
Yep.
Like, that's like a hero LL level amount of card banning, basically.
It's an entire set.
It's so much.
It's like all of Tails LLing.
It's so
level
crazy. Yeah.
Change. I really think it is the equivalent of like when the last Tails hero LL'd.
How much lead up did we have to it? Like expectation? None? It just kind of showed up.
Well, they just said it was it showed up as a grayed out post of like something about books, and everyone's like,
frick. Everyone's
what
like,
does this mean?
Oh, I remember. I don't remember I think I did hear somebody who was like, they're gonna ban like, what was it? I think someone said they were gonna ban
like Tome of Aetherwind or something.
Yeah, Tome of Aetherwind and Bonds.
Yeah, and then they just banned like 8 other things.
They banned Cash In. Like, they were just like, we're done with this idea in CC. And that was insane. And how do you... Okay, so at the time, everyone was freaking out. I think most people were like very positive on it. Okay, I understand the direction the game's... it's very respectable. How do you feel about it now? Has your opinion changed since you saw it?
Yes. So I think... I was initially very worried because we hadn't seen Rosetta yet.
Okay.
And when I saw these bans, I was like, Enigma just became the best deck.
Yes. Oh, yeah, because there was a whole blurb about it in the post, and then also people were telling me about it on Twitter.
And if Enigma is the best deck, blanket best deck, you have a problem. Your game is not good if Enigma is hard stop best deck tier 0. Like, that is a problem for the game.
It's kind of like I've heard people say that about Teklovasen, but I didn't really think about other heroes also being that kind of a problem.
It's much more face up for Enigma.
Yeah.
But yes, that's probably roughly the same. So like, Rosetta was a very important set for the game as a result. Where if Rosetta didn't give people the tools to deal with, Zen also didn't take as much of a hit as I thought at the time, and Zen was still a very fine deck into Enigma. Although Enigma just has a much more playable matchup there now. But if Rosetta didn't give at least one other deck the tools to deal with Enigma, the meta was going to be very stale, very fast.
Yeah.
And it was going to be super stagnant.
Enigma.
So, like, yeah, it was going to be Enigma and Zen, and that's it.
I mean, how much game does the Rangers and Assassins get with their anti-prevention effects? Not much.
Not a ton.
Not a ton?
Not enough.
Not enough.
So, like,
not enough to where they're a presence big enough to allow other decks to attack that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of a very very limited meta.
Yes. So I was very worried at first when I first saw that, and I knew that Rosetta would be a very important set for the game. And then we started seeing some of the cards that came out of Rosetta.
We'll hold on to Rosetta for one second.
Sure. Yeah.
So September 6th, 2 days later, Briar, LL and Blitz, Dash LL and Blitz. September 13th, Reinar LL and Blitz. September 30th, Rosetta came out.
Yes. Yeah, so then
20th. Did I say 30th? I meant 20th. I looked at 20th.
Here, like a week after book bans then.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was not like we had like just a lame duck format for a bit, but we started getting the cards.
I think we knew almost immediately. We were like, oh, okay. We were like concerned, and then we had like a few days of like this building concern, and then we started seeing cards, and we were like, oh, this can shake things up.
We'll see. There's enough that there's play.
Yeah.
And I think in particular, it's when I saw the Aurora cards that I was like, okay.
I heard some of the like Viserai players were getting hyped, and I remembered when I played Viserai, and I was like, the one rule about playing against Viserai is you actually just can't technically fatigue him. Like, he'll just do things to like make sure he can't be fatigued.
Yeah,
like he will present some kind of problem to be anti-fatigue. And it's like, okay, if that's why I wasn't super concerned. I was like, if Viserai players think they have something, it's gonna be really hard on Enigma.
Yes. Which like Rosetta ended up being enough to keep Enigma like down enough
to spread the meta out.
Yes.
Which is all we really need to ask. It's fine to be the best deck as long as there's things that can
it can be the top of tier 1.
Yeah.
Enigma should never be tier 0.
Yes.
Enigma tier 0 is a problem.
Yes. Yep.
Enigma top tier 1, fine.
Ooh, speaking of problems, moving to October 2nd, Kraken's Aether Vein banned. And LL.
Thank Christ.
That deck was insane.
It was ludicrous.
They allowed it to live for like a week, right? Or something like that, like one event. That was insane.
There was a PQ Plus with 20 people.
That's insane.
Because it was LL.
Yeah. October 5th through 27th, PQ London did a ProQuest for London. I don't remember. Did I play in that?
Yeah, you top 8'd.
That was the one where I top 8'd. I didn't remember which
top 8'd, you dork.
Event I went to. That was cool though. I had fun.
Yeah,
with that.
it was.
It was so much fun. I did the
class. You were just hitting people.
Yeah, I was drawing cards and
right.
hitting people. Dude, I beat
you hit 2 Enigmas.
Yeah, I did. I played a Prism that I rolled, and that was crazy. All the players I played against were really good. But the thing about Victor, that I both love and hate is I feel like I'm saying sorry because it's like, you know, I do this and then
Sometimes
this
you just
triggers and
have
then
it.
this triggers and then this triggers and then this triggers. Oh, and then I reveal the golden sun, so then I get
Yeah.
another gold and then
Reveal the golden sun. I get an extra gold. Yeah.
just trigger. I love it. And so that was fun.
Yep.
PQ London, that was a fine meta, right?
It was.
We were
It was
learning about Rosetta at that point and like what
It was a
decks feel
decent
like.
one. Yeah, it was. Rosetta's still getting fleshed out a little bit.
Counter
So it was a lot
blessings
of
getting
Aura,
thought about a bit more.
and it was a lot of Enigma.
Mm-hmm.
CYB was doing some stuff, but it
Not
hadn't
much.
shown up in the way that it would.
Mm-hmm.
People were talking about it. Some people were playing it, but there was enough like tech to deal with it
Mm-hmm.
in the decks that it was showing up in.
Hadn't quite shown up in the problem decks yet.
Yes.
So then we had
So and
Yeah.
it was very much Enigma Aurora ran PQ season. I think they were tied for wins in that season.
yeah.
And then Viserai was floating outside that along with Zen, Azalea, and Florian. Azalea might have been a little bit further down.
Yeah.
In the middle of that, though, I assume is your next thing.
The next thing is October 13th.
Is that the Dio deck?
That is the 5th anniversary event. October 13th?
Nope.
Is it not?
Oh, the 5th anniversary live stream.
Yes.
That's
That's what I meant. The live
Okay.
stream. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. We got the Night at the Armory video, which was a great video that came out that night, and then Jarl was announced.
And they baited the shit out of everyone into thinking that Dromai was going to get revealed.
Yeah, that was so freaking funny.
When it was just, they said, Ira, Scarlet Revenger versus question marks.
Yeah.
And there's like, there's 6 letters. It's Dromai. And it was just Aurora.
Yeah. They
Which
should have
for
just
some
said
reason,
Aurora.
They just question marked it out.
They should have just said
For
Aurora.
some reason. I don't know why.
I don't know, but it was funny.
Yeah.
The 18th was Dashio got her deck, which was awesome. And
Which
you know what
was
else
another
happened
2 meta PQ.
around the weekend of the 18th was the Bluesky migration.
The first one?
That
Or
was
like,
that was like the big one.
the
That was the
biggest
one where like
okay.
Mara came over and like everyone, Brent
Sure,
Gottlieb
okay.
came over.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
That was like the big one. I mean, and like maybe like 20 other people moved over about a year ago. But like it was literally just like I'd make a post once a week being like, anyone play
We're
Flesh
here.
and Blood? And then I'd get like 4 likes and they'd be like, yeah, we are. And you know,
We're
there wasn't
here.
much conversation going on.
Nah.
But yeah, that was the big Blue Sky migration, which is kind of nice. And then the next day, October 19th, Fab officially supported in Mexico.
Neat.
Awesome.
Yep.
It's about like the same feeling as like South Korea, where you're just like, it's
Okay.
not Japan, but we're very
Yeah.
excited.
Well, it's like they already have a Spanish print run.
Yeah.
So
So where's
They
our
just
South
ship-
Korean print run? I need my South Korean cards. Anyways, I think Magic like stopped coming out with South Korean cards. They cut like a
Maybe.
bunch of languages last year.
yeah, they
Which
did.
was dumb because you're big enough to be able to do that. You should just do it. Anyways, October 31st through November 3rd, Halloween, Worlds. Ira came out.
Ira gets released.
Team
with
Cup,
fifth-
Player of the Year
Yes.
announced.
Yes.
So
And
much
5th
stuff.
anniversary events.
Yeah, wow. It was, yeah, and 5th anniversary events with that weekend too. What a weekend. That weekend was awesome.
That weekend was crazy.
So Team Cup was not what we expected it to be.
No,
No, didn't meet
No.
expectations.
no,
It was
not
so
even
sad.
close.
It was so sad, dude.
Come on. I'll do that for free on my phone. Let me.
Oh
for Christ's,
man.
come on.
We want coverage. We want to watch the
Yes.
best people in the world play this.
You're going to put Team LL up for the first time with the best players in the world, and you're just going to be like, yeah, we're not going to allow spectators in. What? Bro.
You know what? If I can sound like one of those salty podcasters that's just mad about anything for any reason, I'm a little upset they had it because I think Brody would have done better if he didn't split, even the 5 hours he spent on LL testing. Right? Like that could have gone to something more fruitful. That's just me being like super salty. Like I think the concept of the Team Cup's cool. I think it has to be better next year. Like it's just there's no way they don't make it better next year.
Just even let people in the room, man.
Just let Ethan. Like Ethan has like the Ethan cam where he like walks around.
It's just
send
a phone
Ethan
on a
in with the
stand.
Ethan on Ethan cam. Come on.
He can do that for like with 2 minutes, and he'll just let it run. You don't even need to put commentators on it. You don't need to do none of that. Just
the microphone of the camera will pick up background noise and Brody going, I present this at you or whatever, Yeah, flick. It's even in one of my favorite parts of the Night at the Armory video was when they show Brody and he looks so menacing, and then he's taking his cards. He's going.
Yep.
I love that. Player of the Year announced. That's awesome. I was super excited about that.
It's neat. It'll be better in like 5 years.
I think Brody is in first right now. Do you know who is tied with Brody?
Fang.
Is it Fang?
Probably.
I know he's tied with somebody. I just looked at it earlier.
I mean, Fang won a calling and a battle hardened already this year, so like.
Where is that located? I thought it would be under World Tour.
Is it under leaderboards?
Oh, leaderboards. Yes, it is under leaderboards. It's got to be, right? So Brody Spurlock and Michael Funk. Yep, you're right. And guess who's right underneath of them? 25
Michael
points.
Hamilton.
Michael Hamilton. Just the three biggest killers. There's other big names on. There's all the big names on.
Jacob
here.
Clements is a big name out of the UK. Cody Williams, obviously. Jacob Trossing is a Swedish national champ from last year.
Oh, okay.
Nick Butcher has been killing it the last year and already won a calling this year.
Alex Chitu?
Alex Chitu is another big name out of the UK. He's
Douglas.
Like perennial top 8 UK names.
Okay. Here we go. First name I don't immediately recognize. Unless you remind me of some. Paul?
I don't recognize Paul off the top of my head. Paul Van Geisel? I'm going to guess at the pronunciation and probably butcher. I apologize.
You know what? Hot take. I'm over apologizing for mispronouncing names.
Sure.
That's
you're
it.
You're American. They understand.
I'm American. They know I don't care.
Shoma Pudding.
Right.
Victor is up there. Jude Cornett is insane at the game. I actually got to talk to him a bunch in Chicago.
That's
kid's crazy
cool.
good at the game.
Okay. I don't think I know.
Jimmy, like pretty much every name on here.
Yeah.
Almost every name on here I recognize.
Patel.
Going down to like 25.
Simon Nielsen.
Yeah, Simon Nielsen's on there. Like, what?
Francesco
Giorgio. Former calling winner, multiple calling top 8s.
There's so many killers on this list.
Yeah. I mean, this is just like the top 50 of
the person that I
the world right now.
Always get hyped up about when I see their name because I think it says Kevin because I'm dyslexic. Kelvin Law. Every time I see Kelvin Law on an event, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Kevin's not here. No. That's Kelvin.
Nope.
Frick.
That's another Blue Pitch member.
He's really good.
Yeah.
Okay. Enough of just going through the leaderboard. Player of the Year is going to be awesome. I'm going to love tracking that over the year. Also, it's going to be hyped to like see an event happen and then like the names shift a lot or something like that. That would be cool.
I'm more interested in a couple years when the total prize pool is bigger and it's not just like taking out of the 1.5 from this year. And more people can afford to compete, like actually compete for it.
I think
because it is dominated by your calling performances. If you are a consistent calling top 8 competitor, and I think this is something that like other podcasts have talked about where it's like just doing well at PTs isn't enough. You have to like do really well at callings as well. I think that's fine.
I
like
think what
they
it
could
is,
weight it a little bit less on callings, but
I think
yeah.
what it is right now is a motivator, right? It's like there's some people
A
who are
little
on
bit.
the cusp of like trying to do this stuff, and now they're like full in. I think a part of it is like every time I think about it, I think about James White being like, you know, Michael Hamilton needs to stop winning Alpha Clash and devote to Flesh and Blood.
And then
He might not,
runs
but
us
you
over
know,
the weekend after
yeah,
winning the Alpha Clash PT. Yeah.
He's like, well, maybe if Alpha Clash players get better, then
I think the issue is there's actually a huge disparity in the number of events that both Brody and Fung go to, and then everyone else.
mm-hmm.
Like they go to all the events because they can.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to stop them from going to all the events. Like if there's this kind of award right now, they deserve and they continue to do well, they deserve to win it.
Yeah.
But people don't really have the means necessarily right now to compete with them on that level.
Is there an amount of people that are Globetrotters like Brody and Michael that would make you feel like, how am I wording this, right? So like if it's like 30 people that do that, does it feel like
for them
like
to keep the system?
Does it feel like super worth it or whatever, or however we're describing it?
It doesn't feel super worth it, in my opinion. I do like one of the changes that some people are suggesting for the moment, which is you just take your top 6 best callings plus your PTs.
I think Magic used to do something similar to that.
Yeah. Like that to me makes a lot of sense. And it's like, oh, do I need to go to this calling? No, I have 6 really good calling performances already. Cool. I don't need to go halfway around the world to play this other calling.
And maybe 6 isn't the number. Maybe it's like 8.
Sure. We can work on what they can figure out whatever number that is. But I like for the moment where you don't have pro players that you're paying to appear at GP Tokyo. Until you're doing that, I would definitely be okay with adjusting the system a little bit. Because this feels like a system that should be set up for 10, 15 years from now, when there is 30 to 50 players who are at every calling, that you see at every calling. So
I thought it would have been interesting when they announced the prize pool for next year, that they announced the 1.5 and then they announced an additional for player of the year, and that's not a part of the 1.5. Yeah, especially when we are getting more tournaments this coming year.
Yes, we're getting more tournaments this year, which means we've actually reduced the prize pools for each PT. As well for Worlds, it's going to have a reduced prize pool because of this and the number of battle hardens that are going up, as well as more callings. So
you got to expand in one way or another, and sometimes it's the money, and sometimes it's the events. So
I'm okay giving them at least this year on expanding the events without expanding the money. I would like to see a little bump the year after, especially if they're going to add more events for 26.
My expectation
trim
was
on the prize pool more.
My expectation was 5 million for 2024, so now I guess it's 10
for 24
or 2025. Sorry, 2025.
Okay.
5 million for 2025, so now I guess it's 10 for 2026. The next thing that happened, Worlds ended November 12th.
Yep.
High Octane banned, Counter Blessings Blue banned in CC.
Yep.
Zen no longer living legend in Blitz, which was actually insane. Belittle banned, Hedron Collider banned, Open the Floodgates restricted, Starstruck unrestricted, Aether Ironweave banned in Commoner. It was actually kind of a big banning. It was just spread out amongst formats.
Yes, it was like only 1 or 2 per format that were happening, but also I think those were all great changes. They kind of just all hit the nail on the head. So
I thought the Zen one was insane. Like, I genuinely what I thought was, because I heard rumblings of Zen LL too fast in Blitz, and I assumed they would just drop a Blitz deck that has a slightly altered Zen and just say, boom, we put another one in, instead of like not undoing the points, but they
un-LLing Zen.
That was insane to me. I was just like,
it was a surprising choice, but I think it was fine with all the book bans.
Yeah, I think. If you look at it with your eyes just kind of a glaze, like you're not looking into the specifics of it, you're like, yeah, it makes sense. I love it. It sounds great and it works. But like if you think about it like really specifically about their philosophies and everything, you're like, it's actually kind of insane. that
little
James
bit.
would let him do that.
A little
Like,
bit.
it sounds like something someone suggested to James, and he was very adamantly against it for like 3 weeks until he eventually.
And then he
like,
thought about
caved.
it some more and
Yeah,
thought
he,
about
like-
it some more. And
yeah,
he's
he,
like,
like,
nah,
yeah.
wait.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah, like it seems
Where
like
it's-
something like someone brings it up, and James is just like, no, absolutely not, right?
Like level 0
It's
is
against
like,
the whole
okay,
thing.
that happened. Level
Mhm.
1 is like, did they just, can you do
Huh?
that?
Can you do that? Yeah, really.
And then level 2 is like, ooh, oh, I kind of
They could
like
just-
that.
They kind of just do whatever they want, can't they?
I kind of like
It's
that.
almost like it's their own game.
Yeah.
I thought that was the most surprising part. A lot of people were surprised about Hedron Collider, which
Nah.
they just didn't know.
Yeah, you
Just didn't
Blitz has
know.
not played a ton. Data Doll
Yeah.
in Blitz has not played a ton. Data Doll with the Armory deck stuff is just nuts. It's
Data Doll?
nuts. So
Data Doll
It's
is
insane.
very close to being one of those decks at the UPF table where you're just like, they
You might
chose
get
to
targeted.
start. Yeah, you chose to start as Data Doll. That
Yeah.
just means you die. Which
Yeah.
is the interesting thing about UPF is that ceiling keeps raising because there's like 20 heroes that feel like that right now, and so it's like, what if all of them are sitting at the table?
Oldham is there with Crown of Seeds.
Yes.
Like
Threat
threat assessment.
threat assessment was something that UPF players have never been good at because it's still a very fresh format and a fresh game. Now it's even harder to do.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that. I don't know. The rest of it's interesting. Floodgates getting restricted was huge. Like, how does that all
Yeah.
look with it? I mean, it's like you're
It's
like
very
yeah, that
Kino
makes sense,
dominated.
but also like it
I think
game's
instead
very
of
different. without
5
it.
Starvo, we might actually have 4 Kano.
Crazy,
And
right?
I could probably name 3 of the Kanos.
I can still name one of the Starvos. Michael
I
Hamilton
could
still
too
makes
because
top 8.
he put all of his tech in. He still
Yeah.
had all of his Kano
Yeah.
tech.
He does it. He's not going to lose to some stray deck, which I love
No.
that.
He would maybe have only lost to two of the Kanos in top 8,
Yeah.
and that's like it might have actually been 4 Kanos in top
So
8.
crazy.
Like that deck was that powerful.
But
Like
we didn't.
I would have brought it.
Yeah. We didn't talk about counter blessings. I want to talk about it in 3 contexts. How you felt about it when you saw it for the first time, how you felt
Yeah.
about it by the time they got banned, the blue got banned, and how you feel about
Sure.
it now.
Sure. So when I first saw it, I thought it was kind of
I thought it was gimmicky
didn't-
garbage.
yeah. I thought it was a gimmick. I didn't think it was like garbage tier because I was like, okay, they're all roughly 2-card 6s, but anything that can curve it into a 2-card 7 is pretty good, like Rampart, or it would have been Crown of Seeds, or something similar. And that's kind of what I was looking at as like the thing that makes it work. And it's still fine. On numbers, it would have been fine because it's
Verdance with Crown of Seeds and
Verdance or Florian with Crown of
CYB?
Seeds and CYB would have been crazy.
no.
And that's why I was like, it's fine, but it's like it's probably going to struggle into the aggro decks.
Yeah.
The thing that I didn't appreciate, and I think most people missed, is it was the most healing per card out of deck that we had ever seen in the game, which is 6 per card, which is a shit ton. The most we had seen is 3. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
The most
yeah.
reasonable healing per card we've seen is 3, which is Sigil of Solace and Healing Balm and Sunkiss, which were all played in Fatigue Oldham decks. So that was the part that I misevaluated at first. And when we started testing it, it was like, that's the problem. That's why it's good. And that's what I think, and a lot of people like fluctuate, like when I like understood that, I was like, okay, it's real. You tech for it, you deal with it. It's fine. It is a thing to consider and worry about. And I think the community, I reacted less strongly on both sides than the community did, where it's like, it started out as like unplayable trash. And then by like week 2, it was just like insane god tier destroying the game.
I was on the low
didn't-
end both times because I thought it was unplayable
Yeah.
trash, and then someone explained it to me, and I was like, "It's good, I guess." And I kind of like sat there the
It
whole
is.
time.
it was like extremely fine.
Yeah.
Aggressively mediocre is like where I thought it would be, because I was like, oh, good players can just beat it, and it's like, well, then you just put it in Enigma,
Yeah.
and then I was like, oh,
Yeah. Okay, so
I see the problem now.
Blues got banned.
And then the Blues got banned, and that's a great middle ground for this card, because if you can't ban 2 colors like you did with Bonds, it's not literally unplayable then.
Yeah.
But they moved it from 6 healing per card out of deck to 5, which was a big difference, because you removed effectively, so it was 24 healing that came out of just the Blues, but you replaced them with blue 3 blocks, so it's like 15 healing comes out of the deck, which is a decent hit.
That's a lot.
That's a very real hit.
Yeah.
But also, like, your Poison the Well tech drops a little bit in value, but is also consistently better because you're not doing it on a shit blue potentially early. So, like, your baseline value on Poison gets better. So, like, it's still a real thing, and it's still top 2 calling Portland. It was the finals, was CYB new against Enigma without CYB.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So I think it ended up in a good place where it's a real thing, and it's something like you have to understand how to deal with, and maybe you can just play against it and you don't need to tech for it anymore, which I think is a little bit healthier of a place for it to be, because those last 3 really do represent a lot. Where it's like it takes it from a adjusting your game plan thing to, if you don't have tech,
you're
lose. Probably losing.
You're gonna
It's not guaranteed, but it's a big difference between those 2.
No, because any amount of percent you had to win, you've lost in the mental game.
Yeah, you lose some there.
You lose more. Like, if you had a 5% chance to win, your brain lost you 4% because you are not in the mindset to play this game anymore because you're so frustrated. I had to explain it to a local who was like, they were like, the healing's good, but like it's countered by on hits, but then also like it's frustrating to play against, and they were like struggling to understand the quality of how good it is. And I described it as kind of like each one, like life gain is effectively deck size, in the sense that it means you don't have to block weapon swings at the end of the game. Should it
all
go
of the
to
break
fatigue.
Points that don't need to get blocked suddenly.
Yeah, it heals all those Kadachis or all of those 4s that, like, let's say Aurora sends that doesn't have an on hit, right?
Which was like Enigma's biggest problem into Ninjas, was like all the 1s, or into Aurora is all the extra 1s, where it's like you're guaranteed to get 3 value out of every card suddenly, which is like, that's it. That's how you're going to win the game. And then Aurora's deck is going to turn into nothing, effectively, just dog water blues that don't present damage, and then suddenly you just have inevitability, which is like, it is the definition of the control deck that they put forward, which like,
that was
is fine.
Well, it's whatever. There's not like a lot to talk about there when they defined their James White defined his opinion of a control deck in Fab, like,
which was the same as any other control deck in any other game. We just don't like it because it's Enigma, and we don't like it because it's CYB. It is not the idea of control. Like, people didn't like it when Olden was doing his thing after that banning, when he went to Life Gain and Crown of Seeds and Warhorn against Icelander, and he's fatiguing everything else. Like, people didn't like that either. It's people don't like control. People want to do their thing and have it kill people.
I think my new stance is people don't like numbers, because they don't like Stubby Hammer's Phi. Like, they'd scream till their eyes start bleeding over Stubby Hammer's Phi, but then they'd also do that about Enigma.
That blatantly broke a meta.
Yeah. Well, it's just better numbers. It's just like...
Sure, but it's like saying, oh yeah, Eldrazi Winter is just better numbers. Yeah, that's degenerate.
Yeah, well...
That doesn't...
It's
something being numbers...
It's not flashy.
People are always going to complain about the best numbers being the best numbers. That is exclusive from... it being healthy for the game or not.
Sure. Yeah. I agree. No, I agree. I mean to say, like, they'll be upset if it's controlled. They'll be upset if it's aggro.
Yes.
Is what I'm getting.
Sure.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, people also just don't like control decks in any.
Yeah.
Meta,
they don't like being told no.
In any game, not because of numbers, because they want to do their thing.
Yeah, what people want to do is they want to do their thing, and they want the thing that they do to be cool.
Yeah, and good. They want it to win.
Not everyone. People play Katsu.
Sure.
And they're like, I did the flashy thing.
I mean, they want it to be good.
They want it to be good, but they don't want it to be too good. Also,
Sure, because they don't want Bonds to get banned again.
Yeah, they don't want Bonds banned. Okay, all right, on to the...
All right.
We're almost wrapped up. November 29th, Jarl came out. Let's go.
Ooh.
It's awesome. Shut up. And
It's cool.
It is cool.
They did a very good job on the design of Jarl, and I think a lot of people playing Jarl still have a long way to go on that hero because they're treating him like Oldhim, and he's not Oldhim. And they need to stop treating him like Oldhim.
I recently saw a thing where Michael Hamilton was talking about Earth Jarl, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to the drawing board and see if I can make it work again. And I did, and almost immediately pivoted back to ice because I was just like, it just doesn't, like, you're just ignoring the hero text. Like, at that point,
You're just
like,
playing the Earth cards. Just play Florian.
Just play Florian. Because, like,
If you're going to play that decomposed stuff, and you're not going to do anything with ice, just play Florian. You have the same or better fridge. You have better one-card hands. You have better hero text for all the Earth Decompose stuff. You actually get something out of it besides just felling being +4.
Yeah. Did I show you my Florian deck?
No?
I made a Florian deck that's strikingly similar to the Earth Jarl deck I made.
Decks? Yeah,
And
weird.
yeah. Well, I took out, like, a lot of the, like, fancy Runeblade cards.
Sure.
And like a lot of the non-attack actions basically, and I put in what's that 1-for-4 that if you've dealt arcane they discard a card? I put that in.
Consuming Volition?
Yeah, if you play
Something like that.
pitch a blue, activate grasp, swings consuming volition. That's a 2-card 5. And with 2 breakpoints saying that
on hit discard.
If both of them hit, you discard. That's kind of funny. I like that.
Yeah, no, like that was definitely something, like, that's a card that I've looked at for Runeblades as well.
It was
that's
kind of like a tempo-y,
especially if you make 2 rune chants with that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like later in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like a tempo-y Florian deck. I really enjoyed it. I played a few games and it was not great, but it was fun.
I mean, I put that card in my Somersault Aurora deck. My Rainbow Somersault Aurora.
Yeah.
Because I can play
Slow
that
the
card,
game down.
somersault it, and then make an embodiment of lightning. Or no, there's another one. It's Snuff Out.
Oh, yeah. Snuff Out's good.
Snuff Out, I can somersault that and make an embodiment, and then on hit, in like resolution, I can do this. In response to the on hit trigger, and then sack the embodiment of lightning to make them discard a card.
Holy frick. How do I make Snuff Out work in Florian? With very little commitment. Because when you
Malefic Incantation.
I don't want that.
That card's great in Florian.
Sure.
Minimum 0 for 3, up to 0 for 6. Go again.
It's not that it's bad. It's just like I want to play.
You want to block.
I want to block, and I also want to present
not a blocking card.
It's not an on-hit effect. So
it is not by itself. It needs the Snuff Out. So
that's exactly. So
okay.
I don't want to do. That's not why I grabbed Florian. All right.
Yep.
I went down the rabbit hole.
All right.
Literal final point doesn't even matter. December 10th. Can you guess what the last thing that happened this year basically was? December 10th.
December 10th. Calling Chicago was a couple days after that.
I haven't been including Chicago callings.
Sure. You did some.
Some, the important ones, the big ones.
Sure. December 10th. That was the Monday or Tuesday before Chicago. Was this the ban? No, ban list after Chicago was nothing. That was 16th.
Yes.
What was Tuesday, December 10th?
Victor LL'd in Blitz.
Oh, okay, sure.
That happened, and then we got our final ban and restricted that said, see you next year.
See you after RTN
it said
season.
March. Yeah.
Yes.
It's March.
It's
there were
hunted releases, like like February 1st ish,
Yeah.
and then
March
like,
5th, is that right?
4 weeks later we get a ban list after our TN season.
I think that shows confidence.
It's crazy.
I think that shows. But then I also looked back at like ban lists. Like our first ban and restricted for this year was also in March, I believe. So like, I know we didn't have like a.
It was after heavy hitters.
It was after heavy hitters. So like they had.
It was after that
heavy
season after heavy hitters.
Yeah. So, considering how many bans happened this year, the end of the year is going to be a drought of bans from the second to last ban and restricted announcement all the way until, March of the next year.
Yep.
I don't know. Expectations on the year versus how it turned out. I said that Flesh and Blood was going to ramp up this year, or I thought Flesh and Blood would ramp up in 2023, and that 2024 they would hit their stride. And I feel like they kind of did it, because I think what they're doing now is they're like, okay, we had a lot of successes. We had a lot of successes this year. We're going to repeat them / grab a couple extra percentage points here and there in 2025. So it's going to be a good year. Anything else you want to talk about?
I think I'm good. I'm ready to get to next year, get to Atlanta.
Yeah. I'm ready to get this podcast over with because we went 2 hours.
Yep. Bedtime.
Yeah, bedtime. Holy frick. Yeah, do you have any shout outs? Table Pip merch store. We got the Table Pip merch store. Saturday, we're doing UPF.
Yes, you are.
We're going to have Mara Ferris on.
Yep. She's going to play an illusionist and get targeted again.
No, she's not.
No, she's going to play Vincent, and she wants to get all of the life loss effects on all 4 heroes.
She was wavering on which deck she was going to bring, and I was like, you have to pick Vincent.
It's going to be Vincent because she wants the life loss effects on all 4 heroes, and Deathly Wail to make 4 rune chants. And
yeah.
Nonsense.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much for watching. Live stream Saturday. Bye.